I'm Randy Libbert. You might recognize me from such straight-to-DVD features as Golden Graham. I'm here to help you tell a better story. The first thing you need to know is that every good story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Remember that. Try to start your stories with something exciting. Avoid using cliches such as once upon a time, or one time in band camp, or one time on my mission. Try to start your stories in the middle of some action. For instance, I was down along the bottom of the ravine carrying the bag full of puppies that was weighing me down. That's an interesting story. I want to know the end of that. But there isn't one, because I made it up. Try to tie in your resolution with your beginning. Remember the essay format. Tell them what you're going to tell them what you're telling them, and then tell them what you told them. A lot of this is a matter of planning out your story and practicing in advance. Point number 2, have a point and get to it. A good story tells itself and no more. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, I don't think I'm saying that right, but he once said, or she, I'm not sure, perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. A perfect story is ruined if you don't know when to stop telling it. Try not to ramble on, get to the point of your story, and quit while you're on top. Keep your listeners interested by using descriptive language. At the same time as trying to keep your story short and to the point, use descriptive language that appeal to the 5 senses to keep your listeners interested. A good example of this is telescopictext.com. Instead of just saying, I made tea, you can describe it in so much better words than that, using what you made, how you made it, when you did it. It'll add to the story and keep people wanting to listen to you further. Any simple or boring story can be told in a great way. Avoid repetitive fillers. Avoid things like and, like. People don't want to hear it. It gets distracting, and then people start playing drinking games with your story. Instead of using them, try to pause when you don't quite know what to say for just a couple seconds. This is something that as you practice and avoid doing it, you can get better with time. Slow down. A lot of times when you're up there and you get nervous and you're talking real fast, and then people just understand when you're talking real fast, and then you kind of slur your words together and people just don't know what you're talking about. So you get up there, you get a little nervous, and then you start talking fast, and your words kind of slur together, and then people realize that you're probably just nervous and that you have ADD like me and you want to get home and watch House. Also, don't be afraid of pauses. When you're talking, pauses can seem like an eternity, but they can be very useful to drive a point home. But on the other side of this coin, also realize that sometimes there's a very useful way to use talking fast and no pauses. And that's when you're trying to accentuate some action in your story, or you just feel that the story needs it. But just realize that all these things are tools. You can break the rules, but only if you know the rules, just like everything in life. Wait, that's not true. Don't break the rules. Except here, then you can break the rules. If you know what you're doing, and you're doing it for a point. My last point, but probably the most important, is to practice. You gotta practice your story. Without practicing your story, you're gonna get up there and you're gonna forget everything that you thought about. But if you practice, you can see the weak points of your story, you can see what you need to improve on, you can see all these things you need to do. So go, tell your kids, tell your wife, tell your kids, tell your wife, tell your husbands too, because they be practicing in front of everybody around here. And if you don't have anyone to practice in front of, go grab a mirror and practice in front of yourself. The last thing I want to say to you is just have fun. Tell stories that you're passionate about, that you love to tell, and you're gonna do great. And I will see you at the next Story Slam, or wherever you're telling stories, at the water cooler, or in your classroom settings, or in your fast and testimony meeting. But don't tell too many stories there unless it really relates to your testimony.